Thank you so much, and thank you to SAGES for the opportunity to talk with you today. Like Jerry said, I am a fellowship director at Duke, so I have 3 fellows doing an advanced GI-MIS and bariatric surgery fellowship every year. And these are my disclosures, 5, 6, 7. This is what I'm going to talk about today. So what is my approach as an educator when it comes to routine video recording? What is the utility of it in the OR and outside of the OR? What do trainees think of video recording in the OR? And what I think is headed our way from an educator standpoint. So my experience, just to give you an idea, I do primarily laparoscopic and robotic surgeries, mostly laparoscopic, and I do routine recording, and we do immediately de-identify all of our videos. So if I was to ask you all in the audience here today, how many of you do routine video recording? So for those who are online, about half of the room raised their hands. And I think that's kind of where we are in the laparoscopic world. Most people sitting here, I'm guessing if you're at a video in the OR session, you probably do surgeries that get recorded. And I would start at baseline by saying when you have trainees that are coming to your OR, don't assume they're coming knowing how to do video recording in the OR. So that's the very first place to start. There is a box you have to plug a USB or a hard drive into. This is how the box works. You have to hit these buttons. Some of them show up without a USB or a hard drive, and during orientation, we acquire these things for them. So from an education standpoint, you kind of sometimes have to start at the very, very beginning. And then come the expectations for video review. And I put this meme up here because my poor fellows have 6 attendings. And do you think any of us do any of our operations the exact same way? No. So I have to be able to help them say, okay, you're going to this attending's OR, this is how they're gonna do this case. And then in a month, you're gonna go to this person's OR, and how do they do their cases? And so people who are very smart, years ahead of their time, over a decade ago, started a video library at Duke. And this is an example of what we do. I have a whole fellows binder that has all kinds of things in it that are fantastic for the fellows to be able to review, and one of them is sample OR videos, and another is exercises on how you edit videos yourself. So what do I mean by sample OR videos? So this is just a smattering of what's in there. Different attendings, versions of how, and I actually have the fellows upload them. I say, hey, if you and I do a case and you think this is pretty representative of how I do a sleeve or how I do a bypass, go ahead and stick it in the folder so that those who come after you can benefit from that. So then I tell the fellows the expectation is before you show up to do a bypass with me, even day 1, watch the video so we can talk about it. And we'll sit down and go over it together also. So this brings up feedback. Before the cases, I sit down, go over quickly, like 15 minutes, how are we gonna do this JJ? How are we gonna do this GJ? What are you comfortable with right now? If you've looked at this video and you say, I'm comfortable putting in the ports, I'll do the tap block, I can run the bowel, I can do the JJ. I'm not really comfortable with making the gastrotomy, maybe that's where you should take over and show me how you do it. So that's a really great conversation that I think leads to constructive feedback in the OR at a much more rapid pace than without that feedback. Then, in between cases, you can also sit down, look at these videos, and provide feedback there. Hey, let's take a look real quick, 5 minutes. You had a bleed in the mesentery when you were splitting it. Let's look at where your thermal energy device was. Were you in the right spot? Did we need to be doing that? Lots of conversations that can be had there. Then there's also delayed feedback. So video in the OR is great because you can watch it anytime. So the first Friday of every month, my fellows, our faculty, and I all sit down and we do about 3 hours of didactics. And so in March, we did revisional bariatric surgery, but this was part 2. In February, we went over all the papers, all the data, all the didactic, boring part of revisional surgery, right? But this month, we went over all the videos. So I assigned each of them topics, and I said, go find your videos, go find our videos, go find other people's videos, and let's watch these revisional surgeries and talk about all the different ways we can do them, and this contributes so much, I think, to their education. This, though, is the highest yield. Anytime we have a complication, if you have the original video, like the speakers before me have mentioned, it's so useful to be able to go back. Now, this one isn't something that was recognized later. Obviously, this was recognized, unfortunately, at the moment, brand new CRNA Is everything out of the stomach? Everything's out of the stomach. But you'll see here, everything wasn't entirely out of the stomach. But when this goes to M&M or death and complications, you have a pretty good video. And then for me personally, I also now have a great teaching tool. So I show this video to CRNAs, to anesthesiologists, to fellows, to residents. It's a teaching tool of, well, what can happen, and then how do I handle this complication? You'll notice there's no energy being used here, right? It's only scissors. We want to get everything identified. Are there only 2 holes? How do you take the tube out? So a lot of learning that's happening because somebody recorded this video. This was just gonna be another sleeve, and it wouldn't have mattered if you actually had the video, but when something like this happens, it actually reinforces routine video recording. We also have developed this, I put this hashtag up here because when it comes to our M&M conference, we feel like because we do a great job and we have a tradition of excellence and we do record our videos, we don't have anything to hide. So one of my partners kind of coined this phrase for us with our video recording. When it comes to trainees' experience, so I've asked my former fellows and my current fellows, what do you think about video recording? Does it make you nervous? Do you not like it? Is it a waste of your time? And I've gotten nothing but positive feedback. They love it. Most of these people coming into this field are visual learners, they're spatial learners, they're hands-on, but being able to watch these videos, prepare, they're also, most of us are pretty OCD, type A people, and we like to be able to watch these things and prepare and know the steps. And I think it gives them a common language. So sometimes it's hard when you're doing a case and your attending is saying, not there, over there, not there, over there. That doesn't mean anything to a learner. But when they've seen a video and they have a general idea of what you're expecting, I think that makes it a lot easier for them. This is also a tool for life. So this is not something you use your fellow year and then you abandon. I started doing it my fellow year, so ironically, I'm now the director of the fellowship that I attended, and that's where I learned how to do this. And I've done it every case thereafter because it is so useful. And finally, so the job search. This was pretty interesting. Our fellows now are being asked in certain situations, especially during COVID, to send in videos of them doing a gastric bypass or them doing a laparoscopic hernia repair. So this may be something that's going to be around for quite a while. Finally, what's headed our way? So from a surgical educator standpoint, we know video-based competency is coming. American Board of Surgery is using it, SAGES is piloting it. It's here to stay. It's something that we're going to be using. How is it going to affect us? We don't know yet. That's to come. And then coaching as well. So we've heard a lot about coaching, our friends in Michigan, Indiana, Wisconsin. You've heard a lot about that. And I think the biggest thing here is for people who don't have access to a peer cohort and they kind of are existing in space by themselves. Even at the fellow level, if you're one fellow and you have one attending, that's not a lot of input into your performance. So something like the Academy for Surgical Coaching is huge for these people when they go out their first year in practice. Artificial intelligence. So I'm sure Jerry could give a whole lecture on this, but we're going to start layering artificial intelligence over these videos. And what is that going to mean? We're certainly not there. I'm sure those of you who attended the lecture yesterday when the discussion was had about putting that baby elephant in the room and everything went kaput. So AI isn't at the point yet where everything is going to function great, but at some point it's going to be, and that's something kind of to monitor as far as how it is going to affect our trainees. Finally, credentialing and privileging. So are we going to have to start submitting videos of ourselves as part of this credentialing and privileging packet? Are you going to have 10 representative sleeve gastrectomy videos, 10 representative bypass videos, et cetera, as part of your application? Who knows? Lastly, remote training. So there are a lot of people around the world who want to learn these skills. And they may have the equipment, but we don't have enough teachers, we don't have enough mentors. And so things like surgical coaching or even, fellowships that exist remotely may be something that are coming down the future. Thank you so much.